Hey everybody, it is the end of 2019. Today, the day I'm releasing this video, is December 31st. This has been a really great year for movies, and I am very excited to talk about my 10 favorite movies of the year. Before I get into that, I want to list some honorable mentions. These are movies that were either really close to breaking the top 10 or were just really enjoyable movies that I think people should check out. Also, I don't think I'm going to be doing a worst of 2019 video, only because I don't think I've seen the worst of the worst this year. I've seen some bad movies. If you've seen my last review, you know that Cats was really bad. But overall, I wouldn't say I had a lot of bad movie experiences this year. I think I've mostly seen good movies. So maybe next year I'll do worst of the year. But as of right now, I think I'm just going to focus on the ones that I really liked. So first, honorable mentions in no particular order. Us, 1917, The Peanut Butter Falcon, Spider-Man, Far From Home, Uncut Gems, The Lighthouse, Abominable, Ready or Not, Dora and the Lost City of Gold, John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum, The Farewell, Claws, Jumanji, The Next Level. These are all movies, again, that almost cracked the top 10 or I just thought were really enjoyable. Now, some of these I didn't actually film a review for. I either tweeted about it, I sometimes do short Twitter reviews, or I saw it but never got a chance to really talk about it on camera. So definitely check those movies out. All right, let's get into the top 10 movies, or my top 10 favorite movies of 2019. Number 10, Fighting With My Family. This was an early entry for 2019. This movie was the reason I began to watch Florence Pugh. She has been amazing this year. She has had so many roles and she's killed it in all of the ones that I've seen so far. I haven't seen Little Women, but she was great in this movie. Vince Vaughn was great in this movie. And even though I'm not a big wrestling fan, I was really wrapped up in this story, seeing her train, her development, and the ending really had me feeling so good. I almost teared up a little bit too because it was just a great moment. And it was a really interesting story about a wrestler I didn't really know much about. So definitely check that one out if you get the chance. Number 9, Avengers Endgame. Now, people who know me will be surprised that it's actually this low on my list, but again, this was a really great year for movies. Avengers Endgame was the culmination of over 20 years of Marvel Studios films, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they did not disappoint. I thought this was a great finale of sorts to the Marvel Cinematic Universe as we knew it. There were some really great crowd-pleasing moments, really great action, nice callbacks to previous movies in the franchise, so if you were someone that stuck with them the whole time, you were able to catch a lot of the references that they have here. So this was a movie really for the fans. And when people say that, I mean, this is really a fan movie. Now, I've watched this a few more times and some things don't totally hold up for multiple viewings, at least in my opinion, but it's still a really enjoyable movie. And especially if you're marathoning through the whole MCU, you will not be disappointed when you get to this one. Number 8, Dark Waters. I think this movie flew under the radar for a lot of people, mainly because of the marketing, but this was a really, really good movie. This was really informative about a time in history that I don't think a lot of people realized, and it's something that's still happening. That's the craziest part of it. I went into this movie thinking that this is an old case that's already been sorted out, but no, this is still going on. The fight is still going to get these companies to stop with these really dangerous chemicals, to stop using these chemicals that they're not telling the government and stuff about. So if you really want to be educated about this topic, definitely check it out. But there's also great performances from Mark Ruffalo, Anne Hathaway. Really solid film. Number 7, Dolomite Is My Name. This was one of those movies that Netflix put in theaters for a couple weeks just so it would count for the Oscars. And this was a really great movie, and I thought it was especially inspirational as a creative. You see Rudy Ray Moore really fighting to have his place in entertainment. Constantly you're seeing people telling him no, and he's still finding a way to make things happen. He becomes a comedian, he becomes a stand-up comedian. He makes his own records. He has a movie in theaters. Every time someone tries to tell him, no, you can't do this, you can't have this here, we don't want to show this, we don't want to play this, he still finds a way. And I thought that was so inspirational as someone who's trying to do something similar, who wants to make their own content and put it out there. And for me, it's so much easier because YouTube, but back in that time, he didn't have the internet. So what he did is that much more impressive, and Eddie Murphy absolutely killed it in this movie. Number 6, Honey Boy. This movie was a surprise for me because I actually didn't know that much about Shia LaBeouf's upbringing, and although it was hard to watch, I thought it was a very meaningful movie, and the performances were amazing. Shia LaBeouf playing his own dad was especially powerful because of what you see he went through with his dad. So being able to become that person, I'm sure, was very tough, but he handled it so well. He gave one of his best performances. And this is not the only movie that he was good in, because again, Peanut Butter Falcon was an honorable mention, but like, he was really good in this movie. Noah Jupe was really good in this movie. Beautiful cinematography and a really human story. So it's definitely worth checking out. And it's an Amazon movie, so it's probably gonna be on Amazon Prime sometime in 2020. So be on the lookout for that one. Number 5, this was actually a tie between two movies because I honestly couldn't tell you which one I like more because they were both really good. Parasite and Joker. Both of these movies held a mirror up to us as a society and said, what are we doing wrong? Who are we treating wrong? They, even though kind of touch on different things, Joker being a villain but a more realistic take, and Parasite being a thriller slash comedy slash suspense. Like, both these movies had a mix of genres, but ultimately they both had me shook by the end and they went in some really crazy directions. They are both worth checking out. Parasite might be harder to find because it's not an American movie, but I'm sure it's gonna be out there somewhere. Definitely worth checking out. And Joker, of course, is probably gonna be on DC Universe or HBO at some point. But both of these are really great. Number 4, Booksmart. This was another early entry and I really resonated with this movie. This was a different take on the high school coming of age story. They take a lot of stereotypes from other movies and from life in general and they flip it on their head very early on, and it just goes in this really fun and refreshing direction. Olivia Wilde, shout out to you. This was a great first movie as a director, and there were also great performances from Benny Feldstein and Caitlin Dever. This was an all-around fun movie and it was definitely one of my favorites of the year. Number 3, Marriage Story. This was another Netflix movie that was put out in theaters for a couple weeks, and I managed to catch this one in theaters just before they took it away. Boy, was I taken aback by this movie. This was such a well-acted, well-written story, a human story about this couple and how their relationship is falling apart. Now, mini rant here, the fight scene where these two are fighting with each other was put out on Twitter out of context, and people were tearing it apart like, wow, this is terrible, this is not realistic, blah, blah, blah. It was out of context. So please watch this movie, make your own opinion, see that scene in context because it is a very powerful scene in context. And I really hope that people give this movie a chance because it was really, really good. Number 2, Ford versus Ferrari. This movie was a great time at the movies. Like, you don't get a lot of those because there's so many manufactured, like, big budget studio movies. This one just felt like an all-around cinematic experience, from the sound design, the acting, the way it looked, the thrilling racing scenes. This movie really had it all. And on top of that all, there was Matt Damon and Christian Bale's chemistry. These two were great on screen together, and this was just such an enjoyable popcorn flick. And now, number 1. This was neck and neck with Ford vs. Ferrari, which is kind of funny because Ford vs. Ferrari is a racing movie, but this movie won me over for several different reasons. I have to give the number 1 spot to Jojo Rabbit. This movie had it all. Taika Waititi absolutely killed it. This was a great satire of Nazi Germany. It had heart, it had comedy, it had suspense, and it was a great balance of making fun of the Nazis but also acknowledging the seriousness of it. It was just so well balanced, and there were really great performances from all the kids, from Taika Waititi as Hitler, from Sam Rockwell, Rebel Wilson. There were so many good performances. Scarlett Johansson, everybody killed it in this movie, and I had so much fun with it, but it also tugged at my heartstrings. Out of all these movies, you definitely should check out this one. It was my personal favorite. This was a, again, great year of movies. This was the first year I did movie reviews. This year, 2020, coming up, I'm starting from the beginning, from January, so I will get a full year of movie reviews. Thank you so much for everybody that has been watching up to this point. I really appreciate the support. I'm really excited for what I have to come. New movie reviews, new shorts, and doing some new stuff. So please look out for those. Thank you so much. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. See you next year in the next one.